Hello students, in this particular video, we're going to learn about communication skills. It is a very important topic and it's definitely going to help you out for the rest of your life. So let us understand what is communication and what are communication skills. Let's get started. So the first thing that you need to understand over here is that communication is the process of sharing or exchanging thoughts, ideas, feelings, and information. So when we say it's a process, so what kind of a process is it? So I would say it's a two-way process. Communication is not just something that I say something and I leave. No. Communication has various types, modes, but first and foremost, the very important aspect, this is the definition, this is the meaning that you have to understand. When we say communication, it is actually a process of sharing or exchanging ideas, thoughts, information, feelings, right? So how does it help us? It helps us to express our feelings, how we are feeling. Are we happy, sad? So it helps us to express our feelings. The next thing is that we have some sort of information. For example, in this particular video, I'm sharing the information about communication and the skills related to it. So this is also a form of communication. Next, we have ideas. So people had ideas. For example, there is a small child and it's raining outside. So they get an idea, okay, let's make a paper boat or let's go out in the rain and play. So with the help of their ideas, with the help of their words, they're able to communicate with their siblings, friends, and they communicate with each other. So the child says, let's go out to play, and their friend or their sibling, their brothers or sisters, they say, okay, let's go. So that is how we exchange ideas. And we also have thoughts. So suppose there is a great writer or a poet, and they're going to have some great thoughts and they can pen it down in their notebook and maybe later on they can get it published. So that is also a different aspect of communication. So it's a process. Please remember that communication is a process of sharing or exchanging thoughts, ideas, feelings, or information. I hope you got it. So where does it come from? Where does this word communication actually come from? So it has been derived from a Latin word. So Latin is a language and it's somewhat similar to English, but it's an older language, and English is relatively a newer language. It's considered to be a modern language. So this word communication, it has been derived from this Latin word which means communicare. So as you can see, the meaning of this Latin word communicare is to share. Saja karna, it means to share. So communication has actually been derived from the Latin word communicare, and the meaning of this Latin word communicare is to share. I hope you got it now. Let's move on. So why are we studying this? What is the purpose? Why do we communicate? So it has multiple different types of purposes. A few of them have been listed over here, but I can assure you that in every facet of your life, in every aspect, every phase of your life, every phase of your life, you're definitely going to encounter the purpose of effective communication. And the sooner you realize it, the better you're going to be, the better off you're going to be. So let us dive straight into it. What are the purposes of communication? So first and foremost, purpose of communication, so we're discussing the purposes, is to express, vyakt karna, is to express. What can we express? We can express thoughts, ideas, information, feelings, emotions. There are various things which a human being or even an animal, everyone can express. So the purpose of communication is that it's going to help us to express. What's the next purpose? It helps us to inform. It helps us to inform. I have some sort of knowledge, I have some information with me, and I wanted to share it with other people. Like, for example, I'm teaching you about communication and you're learning, so I have this information, I want to share it with you. So I'm trying to inform you, I'm trying to inform whatever knowledge that I possess, and it's really important, and that is one of the purposes of your communication. Apart from expressing, apart from informing, there's this other thing that we can say, and that purpose is clearly defined over here as influence. So you must have come across various types of advertisements in the form of pamphlets, in the form of television commercials, it can be in the form of digital ads. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to influence us through the way they are communicating with us. Okay, for example, they say that there's a chocolate, and if I eat this chocolate, I will start falling in a waterfall of chocolate. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to communicate to us. They're trying to influence us through various forms of communication. So the purpose of communicating is not just to inform, it's not just to express, but I would say even everybody tries to use communication in order to influence. For example, a mother tries to influence her infant little baby. Oh, please eat it. She will make some actions. She will sing some rhymes. Or from a new mother all the way to a very veteran politician, a very senior political leader, they also use communication to influence large masses of people. So we know the purpose of communication is to express, it is to inform, and it's also utilized to influence other people. And one more point I have for you is that it also helps us to share knowledge. It also helps us to share knowledge. So when we say, what are the purposes of communication? So we can say that it helps us to express, it helps us to inform, it helps us to influence, and it also helps us to share our knowledge. Yeah. So I hope you're going to remember this. These are the purposes of communication. These are the purpose of communication. Let's look at one more point. Let's go through the second point that we have over here. It says that the purpose of communication is to help convey our emotions. It's to convey our emotions. So it can be done through visual communication, it can be done through verbal, non-verbal communication. So we can express our emotions with the help of communication. So that is the purpose that it's also serving. So we'll have to remember that it helps us to convey our emotions, opinions, and ideas. So these are the things which which defines the purpose of communication, and I hope you're going to remember it. It's not very difficult to understand. It's fairly simple. You just have to concentrate and focus whatever I'm trying to tell you. So please listen carefully. Once again, I will help you out to understand. If I say convey, so what do you mean by convey? Convey means vyakt karna, prakat karna. So that is the meaning of conveying. So what are the different things that a communication helps us to convey? So the first thing that communication helps us to convey is that it's going to help us to convey our emotions. It's going to help us to convey our emotions. It's going to help us to convey our opinions. And it's also going to help us to convey our ideas. So these are the different things which our communication serves. So these are the purposes, these are the various purposes that communication serves. It helps us to convey ideas, thoughts, feelings, emotions, various things, right? And one more topic, one more point has been mentioned for you. And what's that point? Let's try to understand what that point is telling us. So the purpose of communication, one more point for that we have in front of us, is that it is essential for personal growth and personality development. So in today's day and age, it's very important to stand out because of the population, because of such extensive competition everywhere in every sphere of life. Even if you are, for example, there's a hairstylist, so that he has to compete with various other people, and one of the good things is Communication, how is it going to help him? It's going to help him stand out. It's going to help him make a name for himself in the crowd of other people. So there are multiple other people who are equally skilled, people who are equally talented, I would say, but the only reason why they're not able to do it is because they lack. So as I was telling you about how our purpose is derived, how we are able to serve the purpose of communication is that when we communicate effectively, that helps us to enhance our personality. Apart from enhancing our personality, it also helps us in growing ourselves in a personal level, in a professional manner, in all different aspects of life. If we are able to communicate effectively, we are definitely going to see some improvements, some growth in all aspects of our life. So these were the 3 different types of purposes that we discussed in this video. And now we are going to move on towards the features of communication. So everything holds some or the other features. So what features do communication holds for us? We were going to understand it now. So the first thing is that it takes place between 2 or more individuals. So communication takes place between 2 or more individuals. That is a fact. And if there are less than 2, or if there's a single individual, then communication cannot take place. So in order for communication to take place, there has to be 2 or more individuals. In the presence of 2 or more individuals only, communication can be done, and it takes place between 2 or more individuals. The next thing is that, next point, please understand that our communication should be very clear, our communication should be very efficient, and it should be understood by all involved. So everyone who is a part of our communication, everybody that we intend to inform or express or share, they should all be able to grasp what we are trying to share with them. So if we are trying to communicate, then we should definitely ensure that we are as clear as possible. And it should be as efficient as possible. That means we should follow all the different rules, how we should never break the rules of communication. And if we want it to be as efficient as possible, there are some factors that we should definitely consider. For example, when we are having a face-to-face interaction with someone, then we should never point at them. That is a no-go, absolutely not. We should not be doing that. So there are certain factors that we should consider, take into consideration, and we are definitely going to look at them further on in our videos. So right now you have to understand that there are certain factors which helps us to be as efficient, as clear with everyone that's involved in our communication. So first and foremost thing that you have to understand is that you should be as clear as possible, you should be as efficient as possible, and everybody should be able to understand whatever you have tried to share with them. And the next point we have with us is that if we are able to fulfill all the requirements of effective communication, then it's definitely going to increase, it's definitely going to boost our confidence. And in today's world, confidence is something that really, really matters. If you want to establish your authenticity, then you have to be as confident as possible. So when you are able to communicate effectively, only then your communication, only then your confidence is going to be boosted up. So I hope it's clear to you that how it helps us to boost your confidence, because you understand the power of your words, you understand the power of communication and how it helps to inform people, how it helps to impact people. So these things really, really matter in today's world, and it has always mattered. If you are able to do it, then you are going to gain a really good amount of confidence, strength. So whoever is able to be a part of effective communication, they are definitely going to be very well equipped with all the words. They know how to present themselves. They know exactly how to boost their confidence. They can even uplift other people. So if somebody is a good speaker, if somebody is a good communicator, we can definitely rely upon them to get the message in the most appropriate manner. That's why people have every company, every house, every institution, they definitely have, even the government has a public relations team, and their sole task is to convey the message, to communicate with the larger audience, with the public, and thus the name public relations. So I'm not saying that it just has one aspect, but I'm saying that communication is involved from every household, from every commercial place, every religious place, even in our prayers, even in our rituals, we are trying to communicate. So communication not just happens with individuals, but it happens in a very broader terms. So we can say that it happens sometimes. I'm lacking the example, but the point that I'm trying to put over here is that your ability to communicate is definitely going to help you to boost your confidence. It's definitely going to give you some sort of strength that, okay, I got this, I have that ability in me, that I'm definitely going to be able to get out of this tense or difficult situation. So there are multiple benefits and features of communication. So I hope it was clear to you. Now let's understand the importance of communication. So before diving into it, I would just like to mention that whatever you're studying, please understand that everything that is being taught to you holds some sort of importance in your life. Maybe it's not directly linked to you, but somehow it impacts you, and you should definitely give importance to each and every subject that you're studying, from math, science, social studies, languages, everything that you're studying, from IT, AI, computer, everything is important. So I hope you give equal weightage to everything, because your school students they write exams, and each paper has an equal weightage. So for example, if you do good in a particular subject and if you do poorly in a different subject, then your marks are going to decrease eventually, because the weightage is equal for each and every subject. So please try to understand what I'm telling you is that the importance of each and every subject really matters, especially in your secondary stage of education, especially in your primary stages of education. That's why, because these are very basic things that we're trying to teach you, and every basic thing that we try to teach you, it has a vital significance. So for that, with that, I would like to continue with our different points that we have for our importance of communication. So the first point that I have over here is that it improves performance in academics. So your academic life is definitely going to get enhanced if you know how to communicate well. If you know how to communicate well, your academic life is going to get boosted, it's going to get enhanced. What's next? Your personal life. That means your relation with your parents, your siblings, your cousins, your relatives, your teachers, your friends. Everything is going to be improved. Everything is going to be enhanced, because you know how to express, you know how to share information, ideas, thoughts, opinions, everything. And that is why communication is so important. What else? Even in your professional life, for example, after completing your studies, you're going to work somewhere, and the place that you're going to work in, that place will require you to communicate, to express your ideas, thoughts. What are the new things that you're coming up with? What are the things that you're developing in that organization? So not just in your academic life, but also in your personal life and your professional life. So it holds a really important place in each of the different phases of your life. and it's always going to be that way. Now, our next point, it makes conversation influential rather than just informative. So if I just simply try to inform you, you will not be interested in what I'm saying. But if I try to make it as influential as possible, for example, somebody makes a biscuit or somebody makes fresh, healthy vegan cookies, and they're just saying, okay, I use this ingredient, I use this ingredient, you will not be interested. But if they communicate in a very effective manner, if they communicate in a very excellent manner, then definitely it's going to pique your interest. It's going to take your attention. It's going to grab your attention. And what's that going to do? It's going to help you remember it even. So I'm sure you must remember a lot of commercials. Why? Because they were influential in a manner. They were not just sticking to informing their audience. They were not just sticking to informing their customers, but they made their communication. They took a different route, and they thought that, okay, everybody is just doing this informative thing. Why don't we go the other way around and we try to make our offering as influential as possible? And that's what everybody is doing these days. You can say people are trying to communicate and make their messaging, they're trying to make their ideas as influential, as impactful as possible, because they stand to gain some benefit out of it. That's why they do certain things that are like this. And that's how you understand why communication should not just be about informing, it should also be about impacting, influencing. And it can also not just be used for commercial purposes, but also for purposes like, for example, let's take into consideration climate change and global warming and these other crises that we're facing, those natural disasters. So people, if we try to make it as influential as possible, we have just been trying to inform, okay, this is the data, this is the data, this is what's going to happen. But if we take a different approach, if we try to make it a more impactful approach, then people might take it more seriously. So that's how we have to understand how to be influential rather than just staying informative. I'm not saying that there's a harm in being informative, but along with being informative, we should also try to be influential in our way of communicating. So that's really, really important. Now, our last point for this video is that when we communicate effectively, when we express our ideas, when we put our opinions, when we put our thoughts in a very effective manner, what does that do? It helps us, it encourages people to give us feedback. It encourages people to give us feedback. It helps people to understand what we're going through, how we're feeling, or what's going on in our mind, what's in our head, and they give us advice about it. They give us very helpful advice. And the sort of response that we're wanting, okay, for example, I'm selling a shampoo, I'm standing in a stall, I'm selling a shampoo, and the response that I want from this person is that they should really like this shampoo. So that can only happen if I'm communicating effectively. So that's a very basic example. It happens at a very high level as well. So response, for example, there's a company that's trying to fetch a client. So if they participate in communicating in a very effective manner, then the sort of response that they're accepting, they might be able to hear that. So that's also very beneficial for them. So that's how important effective communication can actually be. It can make or break situations, deals. So everything happens based on effective communication. The response that we are hoping to hear, the response, for example, you go and give an interview, and the interviewer, you're just planning to impress the interviewer, and they give you the response that you were hoping to hear, then that can be very joyful for you. So that's how Effective communication encourages response, it encourages advice, it encourages feedback. So you have to keep that in mind, that our importance, our understanding of effective communication, it also helps us to exchange opinions. So if we want to exchange our opinions, so for example, I'm an Indian citizen and I want to have a conversation with a citizens of some other country. So I want to know what what's their take, what's their standpoint on this particular issue. So if I'm able to communicate effectively with them, then they might be able to share their opinions on it. So that's how important effective communication is, because it helps us to gain. There's so much to gain from effective communication. There's plenty to gain, and also if we do not participate in effective communication, there's plenty to lose. Not just this, but apart from this, there's also tons of things that can be lost, that can be ruined if we do not participate in effective communication. So I hope in this particular lecture you were able to understand the definition, the meanings of communication, the purpose, how this word has been derived, what are the features, and finally what are the various important things, various important aspects of effective communication. Thank you so much. In the next part we are going to go through the different types of communication and how there's a very special chapter for you. There's a very special topic that I would like to discuss with you, and you can just go and search it, and that particular topic is your how to improve your writing skills. That's one of the most important things in the world these days, is how to write effectively. If you're a student, if you're a professional, anybody can learn from it, and it's going to be definitely it's going to be